back to the garage. I'm Rich. So, progress so far, we've got one engine down, stripped right down to the crank. The other engine's still, bottom end is still on the bike, that's still to do. But today what I thought I would have a crack at are the carburettors. So I'm going to strip, clean and rebuild the carburettors with what I've got. I'm just checking everything's okay there before I go to the effort buying rebuild kits, because on a 4-cylinder bike that can get quite pricey. So I've got my ultrasonic cleaner warming up, so I'm going to take care of the car bodies and all the brass bits inside and then put it back together. Okay, let's get stuck in. So first thing as always, I've got my trusty Haynes manual here. Following the disassembly procedure in here, we're going to take the top of the carbs off first and dig down there. So I have them inside my vise. I've got handy little pots ready to store all the bits and pieces inside, and we're going to work from cylinder 1 through to cylinder 4, hopefully not losing anything. Now these are a second-hand set, apparently came off a running bike. The choke mechanism is completely stuck, so I'm imagining the insides might be quite gummed up with old fuel. So anyway, here we go. So we're going to start with number 1. So these screws are quite corroded. So 1 and 4 on the outside are polished. 2 and 3 on the inside are not polished. I'll probably polish these up or paint them at some point in the future, but and you're going to get the corrosion outside of the screws so that I can get the screwdriver to seat properly. These are JIS, not Phillips. If you use a Phillips screwdriver, you're more than likely gonna shred them. Okay, here we go. So underneath here is a spring that sits up inside the cap, and the diaphragm is in there as well. So that's it's a little rubber skirt that sits inside of here that contains the needle. Okay, there we go. So cap off. There's the spring, and inside here you can see the diaphragm. So what we're looking for inside here is any tears in the rubber around the outside. Any tears in there, you're not going to get good vacuum. You're not going to get. So gently take this out. So on one side of each of the carburetors, there's a little locating bit to help seat the diaphragm. Oops, just gently going to try and pick that out. There we go. Gently does it. Okay, so there's the slide, there's the needle, and here's the diaphragm. Now this looks in really good nick, this one. So no tears, no gaps. The needle looks pretty clean actually as well. So inside, I don't know if you can see in there, there's 2 little screws. So those are the 2 little locating screws to remove the needle. It doesn't look bad at all, so I'm not going to disturb that part. So that's the top of number 1. I'm going to repeat for all the others. So all four off, obviously, as you can see, these two on the outside were stuck. Ended up using an easy out to get those out. I have some spare screws somewhere. These carbs are very, very similar, I think. They look very similar anyway to the XS900. So some of the components I've got in there will fit. Anyway, I'm going to replace all of the hardware when these go back together for good. Okay, next job. I'm going to flip them over and take care of the bottom. Okay, so next job, the carburettor is upside down. I'm going to take care of the float bowls. Now underneath the float bowls contains all of the jets, the main jet, the idle jet, etc, etc. So we're going to take those apart carefully. Okay, I'm going to start here with number 4, I think. So I've got the easy outs ready just in case. I have just soaked these in penetrating oil, so fingers crossed, everything comes out nicely. So they are a bit gammy, not as bad as I was expecting, to be honest. This one particularly, there's a lot of old fuel that's dried out and turned to dust in here. So this gasket will need replacing eventually. I'm hoping I can just clean this up and put them back together for now. So within here you've got the float. So on these particular models it seems to be a plastic one, and then you've got the jets up and in here. Feel like something's missing from there. There should be a cap screw over here. Anyway, I'll check out Haynes and I'll see what she says. Right, no, I'm wrong. So in the XS900 carbs there's a cap screw that goes over the idle jet here. So we've got main jet, we've got hydrojet, we've got the float, and underneath the float we've got the float needle and seat. So first of all we're going to remove the float. So it's held by a retaining pin. So I'm gently going to push that out. Try very carefully not to damage these posts. Right, so clearly it's stuck now. It looks like on the float pin, slightly larger on this side, smaller on this side. So I'm going to use a small punch and gently tap it on this side, hopefully withdraw it from there. Right, I don't want to hammer on this too much, but it seems like this is seized in as is this. So I'll just switch off number 3 to have a look at that. So that one seems it as well. Anyway, I'm going to progress, take out what I can, and then I'm going to drop the carb body in the ultrasonic cleaner and see if that loosens off the pin into the float posts. Anyway, so we have the main jet here. Okay, there we go, so there's main jet. Inside here we have the idle jet. Very crusty inside there. gummed up, absolutely. So I'm hoping the ultrasonic cleaner will sort that out. So there's that, and then finally we have a emulsion tube here. So I'm just very gently going to tap out. So there's the emulsion tube. Again, pretty gummed up. I think the majority of those holes are all, I don't know, you can see through some of them. Anyway, we'll get all that cleaned. Right, so I'm going to take the remaining float balls off, the remaining parts, check back in when I've got some progress. Right, so next I'm going to attempt to remove the choke body. Now, it's got these little grub screws here that hold the rod in place. The rod seems to be completely seized, like most things. So I'm just got a bit of penetrating oil on all the moving parts. So theoretically, you screw these, slide the rod out. Now, some of these have little ball bearings in them. I believe it's 1 and 4. I could be wrong. Anyway, here we go. Right, we're moving now. So, try not to lose place of these clips. So 1, 2. So, I've had to beat the rod this far. Obviously now I can't get the punch in anymore. So I've got pliers on one side and twisting, and it is slowly coming through. There we are. So, there is the rod that holds the choke mechanism. Here are his little brackets, 4 of them in total, which each sit on top of these valves here, which again are extremely stuck. So part of this process I'm going to need to remove these, again get these through the ultrasonic and see if that frees them up a little bit. So these ones are the screws that can control the throttle butterflies, okay, and help us balance the carbs. So I'm going to remove them one by one, take note of the positions and attempt to put them back where they are. Now also, we have the air mixture screws. So it looks like on these carburetors they cover them up with a little blank. There only seems to be one little blank in there. That may or may not come from here, I don't know. So we're gonna have to remove those gently as well. Here we go. Again, trying to take note of the settings. So here you go, air mixture screws. You can see there, focus. Okay, very, very fine tips on those, which you don't want to break off. and get stuck inside the throttle body. Believe me, I've done that before. So, next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to remove these lines and I'm going to put the car body in, as you see it now, into the ultrasonic cleaner. Try and get some grime off, dismantle it a little bit further. I'll check back in with you when I'm there. Of note, inside, and this is where the choke went, tiny little springs which you do not want to lose. I believe inside this one, which is number 3, there might be a tiny ball bearing as well. So I'm going to try and pick that out before I lose it. Alright, ultrasonic cleaning is going. I have it set to about 60 degrees. So I'm going to drop all of this in here. Just give it one pass over, probably about 20 minutes. Now, my ultrasonic cleaner is tiny. And it'll just about fit this in, but I'm going to have to come in halfway over and flip it over. So, here we go. Cook him a bit. I'll catch him with you in a bit. Okay, so after running through the ultrasonic cleaner, come out really nice and clean, and I've just been able to, just off camera, just drift out the pin for the float. So I should just remove that now. Okay, so there's the pin, and here is the float. Now the float is connected to the needle. I'm not sure whether you'll be able to pick this up, but a little hanger on top of the needle. You just see there's a little hanger on top of the needle, okay, and that sits over the tang on the float. So there we go. So you gotta be careful you don't lose those. So there's a needle out, there's a float. Now this one, don't know if you can see there, it's got a pretty nasty old bash on it. I should just have to investigate whether that's reusable or just easy enough to replace. Okay, so there's that. So the last little part to come out here is the float seat. So again, a JI screw there. So the screw holds a retaining clip in there. And then that comes out. So that's what the so the needle sits inside. A little gauze on the opposite. Okay. Then to be fair, that all looks fairly clean. Right, finally, that's the bottom end of this carburettor. Take it apart. Now, the last little bit is this little guy here. So this is what connects the choke mechanism together, and it has a name. this is the choke plunger, which is actuated by the choke bar. It's just a 14mm. As it comes out. So if you recall, these were not plunging, so I shall have to investigate these a little bit further as well. Okay, so the parts on these, you've got the rubber grommet on top, and there's the spring, and the actual plunger, which seems to be stuck inside there, so I'm going to have to give that a bit of a jiggle. Here we go, she's moving. There we go. That's what the choke plunger looks like. Okay, so hopefully inside the ultrasonic cleaner that should blast out some of the mess inside there. So spring is on top, and then the cap nut lifts on there. So just rinse and repeat with all four, run it all through the ultrasonic cleaner, and jobs are good. And that's the full disassemble, well, as far as I'm going to be disassembling these carburetors. Right, so that's the carburetors, all four, taken apart as much as I want to. So I'm not going to be taking apart the throttle butterfly assemblies or anything like that. I'm hoping the ultrasonic cleaner with another pass will take care of that. Now, whoever sold me these carbs and said that they come off a working bike was clearly talking out their arse, and this is a cautionary for flea bait. So these carbs have clearly had fuel sitting in them that's dried out, evaporated, turned to dust, and gummed everything up. Now, carbs 1 and 2 seemed okay. 3 and 4 were dreadful. On carb 3, issue on carb 3, you can see there we've got a snapped float post. So I'm gonna have to try and take care of that. I'm hoping JB Weld does a thing called Marine Weld, which is suitable for petrol, so I'll try and mend that, and we'll see how we go. Also, you may recall that I couldn't get out the mixture screws onto the carbs. This is because, and you're never going to be able to see this, but this is on carb number 1 and number 4. Will it focus? You can just see here, just by my little finger, can you see the end of the air mixture screw poking through? So they've been tightened down so far that the very fine tip, you can just see here, has pushed through the carb body. Now, I'm going to attempt to drill those out, but it might. On my XS11 I had the same issue. Basically those carb bodies were junk and I had to buy some more, so hopefully that won't be the case, but I'm going to try and gently drill those out. So that's carb 2 and carb 4 with those issues. So ultrasonic cleaner's all warmed up again. I'm going to put all the brass parts through and then see what I can salvage. So I was intended on rebuilding today, but that's not going to be the case. It might be that I just have to bite the bullet and get the rebuild kits straight away, and we'll see how far we get. So I'm going to call it a day for this episode. Thank you for watching along. If you found any of it interesting or mildly helpful, please give me a big thumbs up, write a comment, or consider subscribing. So yeah, great. Catch you in the next one.